Major video games today come more jam-packed with Easter eggs than the Easter Bunny's very own private stash, and while the vast majority of them are nothing more than mildly amusing filler to chuckle over in the inevitable grind towards our own inevitable deaths, every so often they dare to be something a little more. These 10 video games all boast secret scenes, collectible items, and hidden areas, among other things, which made explicit implications about the wider lore of their respective universes. While you might at first seem eager to dismiss them as nothing more than a throwaway joke, they generally don't contradict the established mythology in any major way, and most of them actually have a shocking amount of thought and creativity put into them for a, quote, disposable gag. If nothing else, these Easter eggs all invite players to think long and hard about their universe redefining potential. I'm Will for WhatCulture, and here are 10 video game Easter eggs that change everything. 10. Collectible scrolls reveal humanity's extinction. Splatoon. The Splatoon games are best known for their sprightsy colours, breezy tone, and ludicrously addictive multiplayer gameplay, but beneath all that family-friendly fun is an intensely grim backstory hidden in plain sight. The game's surprisingly substantial single-player campaign includes collectible sunken scrolls for players to hoover up, which reveal much of the lore of Splatoon's world that isn't explicitly stated in the game otherwise. Several of the scrolls in particular detail the surprisingly dark downfall of humanity, which was wiped out by rising sea levels, allowing the Inklings' ancestors to emerge on land and begin the mollusk era. Moreover, there's a scroll detailing the remains of a 12,000-year-old human who also happens to be buried with a Wii U. 9. John Romero is the final boss in disguise. Doom 2. The final boss in the legendary FPS Doom 2 is the horned monstrosity known as the Icon of Sin, but there's an incredible Easter egg players can uncover during the boss fight which reveals a truly game-changing truth. The boss itself is defeated by repeatedly blasting it in the face with a rocket launcher, but if you use the no-clip cheat code, you're able to phase through the Icon of Sin's face and enter a hidden room housed within it. In this room, you'll find the head of Doom designer John Romero impaled on a pike, and shooting it provides the player with an alternate way to defeat the final boss. Better yet, though there's no way to reach Romero's head while playing the boss fight conventionally, the Icon of Sin does make an unintelligible growl which, when reversed, says, "To win the game, you must kill me, John Romero." 8. Ghosts are real in the Hitman universe. Hitman contracts. The Hitman games are all about finding creative, amusing, and ideally stealthy ways to kill your targets, the vast majority of whom are depicted as terrible people worthy of being shot, strangled, and otherwise disposed of. And while the franchise doesn't really linger on the existential implications of Agent 47 killing literally hundreds of people across all the games, 2004's Hitman Contracts did include an Easter egg which provided a rather tantalizing hint at the nature of death in the Hitman world. During the mission Traditions of the Trade, players who explore the closed wing of the hotel might be surprised by the appearance of a ghost in the mirror. And if you're tempted to simply laugh this off as a cutesy Easter egg, consider that you're actually able to garrote and drag the ghost around. Not only do ghosts exist in the Hitman world, but they are even able to interact with the physical plane of existence. 7. The dog ending implies a canine mastermind. Silent Hill 2. The Silent Hill franchise is intensely disturbing at the best of times, and the games are also noted for their multitude of endings, several of which are throwaway Easter egg endings only achieved through a specific set of tasks. Several of the Silent Hill games end with the protagonist being beamed up by a UFO, but there's only one ending that, in all of its demented glory, is totally unique to Silent Hill 2. The ending I'm talking about is the infamous dog ending, which is achieved by first unlocking the 3 regular endings. This will allow you to obtain the dog key from the doghouse on your next playthrough, which can then unlock the observation room in the Lakeview Hotel. Upon entering, the secret ending will be triggered, revealing that a dog was behind the game's events all along, having seemingly manipulated it all from a control panel. Bad Fido. Bad Fido. Bad boy. Oh, you're a good boy. 6. JEANE'S totally messed up secret backstory. No more heroes. The No More Heroes series proudly wears its silliness on its sleeve, but that knowingly daft tone hides an incredibly effed up backstory for the primary antagonist of the first game, protagonist Travis's half-sister Jean. During the cutscene ahead of the boss fight, Travis asks Jean about her origins, only for her to refuse in a hilariously meta fashion, claiming that doing so would raise the age rating of the game. Travis then insists he'll fast forward the scene so she can tell him, and Julie, her exposition dump is quickly speeded through, rendering her dialogue high-pitched and inaudible. Though this seems like nothing more than a fourth wall breaking gag, it didn't take fans long to record the scene and slow it down on the computer. When played at normal speed, Jean reveals that she was abused by her and Travis's father as a child and ultimately pimped herself out in order to afford fighting lessons, which she used to eventually murder him. And when you know her side of the story, it's kinda like, yeah, you go girl. 5. The Statue of Happiness has a beating heart. Grand Theft Auto 4. The Grand Theft Auto games are filled to the brim with hilarious Easter eggs for players to seek out. But there's one in GTA 4 which, over a decade later, still has fans speculating on its precise meaning. Liberty City contains a Statue of Liberty aping monument called the Statue of Happiness, which wears a creepily forced happy smile while bearing a suspicious resemblance to Hillary Clinton. But the real Easter egg occurs once you scale the statue yourself, by flying over it and leaping onto a balcony area as it can't be entered from the ground. You'll find a sign reading "No hidden content this way," but if you walk through the nearby door and climb a ladder inside the statue, you'll be greeted by a surprise both fascinating and deeply creepy. At the top of the ladder is a gigantic beating heart wrapped in chains, seemingly to suggest that the Statue of Happiness is indeed alive. And no, it can't be killed no matter how many clips you pump into it. Though it's technically just a goofy gag, if you consider it within the context of GTA's sprawling world, it's terrifying to consider that there's a gigantic living statue held prisoner in Liberty City. 4. It's a post-apocalyptic sequel to SYPHON Filter, Days Gone. Days Gone may not have been a critical smash when it was released earlier in the year, but it was a solid commercial hit for SYPHON, a studio otherwise best known for their work on the classic SYPHON Filter franchise. And while Days Gone is on the surface the beginnings of a new IP, there are numerous Easter eggs hidden throughout the game which suggest it's actually in the same universe as SYPHON Filter, a post-apocalyptic sequel to the stealth action franchise. In addition to Days Gone's pesky Nero soldiers bearing an uncanny resemblance to SYPHON Filter's CBDC operatives, players can actually find a number of files in the Cloverdale laboratory which name-dropped SYPHON Filter protagonist Gabe Logan, as well as other supporting characters, locations, and events from the series. Given that SYPHON Filter saw the player attempting to shut down bioterrorism attacks and Days Gone's Freaker virus was engineered in a lab, it's not a huge leap to consider the likelihood that Days Gone takes place in a future where Logan and co were unable to stop the virus being released. Still not convinced? Well, players who complete the game will also unlock a taser with the ability to set the Freakers alight, a weapon which originated in the SYPHON Filter series. 3. It foreshadows a shared universe with the upcoming Avengers game, Spider-Man. Insomniac's PS4 exclusive Spider-Man game is filled with Easter eggs both crowd-pleasing and occasionally awkward, but a seemingly throwaway line spoken by the web-slinger might actually be hinting at the superhero's soon expanding universe. If you approach Avengers Tower, Spidey will quip, "Avengers Tower's so cool, but they're never around to use it. I think they're somewhere on the West Coast right now." It just seems like a cute way to poke fun at the Avengers' absence in the game, right? That was seemingly true, until Square Enix finally revealed their long-gestating Avengers game at this last E3. The first trailer confirmed that the game will indeed be taking place on the West Coast, San Francisco specifically, prompting speculation from fans that the two games will indeed exist in the same universe. You don't need to explain how exciting this is, and while the games have entirely different developers and publishers, it would certainly be in their shared interests to ensure the game worlds unify to suggest a wider universe. 2. Aliens actually exist. GTA 5. If the existence of a living statue in GTA 4 wasn't bad enough, GTA 5 takes things one step further by flat out confirming the actual presence of aliens in the GTA world. Though GTA 5 does feature a number of hallucinogenic drug trip sequences where the player can battle aliens, there's an additional Easter egg which categorically places extraterrestrials within the game world in a totally tactile and sober way. During the game's opening prologue sequence set in North Yankton, if you ignore the directions to cross the railroad and instead venture under a bridge, you'll be able to discover an alien frozen in a nearby river. Aliens are referenced and spoken about numerous times throughout the GTA franchise, but this Easter egg unambiguously confirms that the creatures do indeed exist in the GTA worlds. 1. The 1999 mode literally changes the game, BioShock Infinite. And finally, we have an Easter egg that literally changes the game in BioShock Infinite. By entering the iconic Konami code, up, up, down, down, left, right, cancel, confirm, or actually just beating the game once, players can unlock the 1999 mode, a special hardcore version of the game which, in the words of the director, doesn't feel like BioShock. When pressed further, he added, non-hardcore players will hate this mode. That's okay, it's not for them. To be more specific, 1999 mode, referring to the 1999 release of the developer's System Shock 2, basically reduces everything helpful in the game world to make the experience that much more punishing. There's less ammo, health, and respawns, while enemies deal more damage, respawns cost money, and both auto-aim and the ability to change difficulty have been removed entirely. Oof. As the game itself warns, the mode is only for the best of the best, due to its near-total lack of accessibility features. Originally, it was intended to more explicitly emulate old-school shooters, but ultimately, the decision was made to focus on it being a hardcore rendition of the regular game instead. So if you want to crack open BioShock one more time, have a good old play, start crying, break your controller and storm off in a rage, this might be the Easter egg for you. And there you have it, folks, 10 video game Easter eggs that change everything. Feel free to drop this video a like if you enjoyed it, and drop me a follow on Twitter at YouSlyDogU. I'm Will for WhatCulture, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.